I think that there's like what we can guess is going to happen on the entertainment side. And then I think there's like what we can guess is going to happen, I'll say on the business side. But what I mean is like where trust matters more in the video. On the entertainment side, I think the first phase we're going to go through is going to be like the phase we're in now, which is like shock and awe at what you can make. Like just truly, this is unbelievable. And that phase is going to continue because the models, some of them cross the uncanny valley sometimes, and they sometimes don't. But they're going to start and cross the uncanny valley all the time. And that is going to be, whoa, I can't believe how real this is. And it's kind of like, you'll get the weird feeling in your stomach, like, I can't tell what's real or not. Then, after we normalize to it, I think all you're going to care about is like, is it interesting? Is this a good story? And if it's a really good story, I don't think you will care that much that it was made with AI. And if it's a bad story, it won't be good. And whatever way you can tell the best story will win.
Welcome, everybody. We are back, and this is Ryan Staley, and I have a very special guest with me today. I have Chris Savage, who is the co-founder and CEO of Wistia. Chris, happy to have you on. Welcome.
Good to see you, Ryan.
Yeah, Chris. So a couple things, real quick backdrop on Chris, so you know. Started up and teamed up with Brendan Schwartz in 2006 to launch Wistia out of a living room in Cambridge, Massachusetts. A lot has progressed since then, obviously. They've gone from a fledgling startup all the way to a company with over 500,000 customers worldwide. Chris also co-hosts the podcast Talking Too Loud. And one of the lesser known things, I should say, Chris was actually one of the people that introduced me to DALL-E version 1 before the whole AI boom started. So once I saw what he was talking about with his video and AI embedding within there, I had to have him back on the show. Chris, a lot's happened over the last 3.5 years-ish. I would say, like, from your perspective, man, what's the latest and greatest with you, and then kind of like what you're focused on over at Wistia?
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, yeah, a lot has happened. And there's a lot, there seems like there's a lot happening every week at this point. We're in an accelerating timeline, but yeah, I think like with me, like we're shipping tons of stuff at Wistia. What the product has really evolved from being hosting and management to actually having creation tools built directly into the products. Individual person creation, like make your own videos, record videos with others in a remote studio, an editor that's taken off. We have a full webinar platform. And that's like super exciting and keeps me very busy. It turns out that like building like 4 new major things will keep you busy. And then I think that like what's going on in my life is good. Kids are good. We're about to get a new puppy next week, so I'm very excited for that. And you know, I'm an early adopter, so I spend a lot of time playing with new things, trying to figure out which of these things deliver now, figuring out which of these things are going to deliver soon. And then part of the fun is like, you know, trying to get that timing right of, hey, this new generative video thing is here. What can we do that's super, super valuable that people aren't thinking about, that we can like solve a problem where we couldn't before? Let's go do it. And so, yeah, I feel like things are pretty busy, but very fun.
Okay. Definitely, man. So what kind of breed for the puppy? I got to ask that question because I'm a dog person.
It's Australian Labradoodle.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
I got a Frenchie. He's getting old. He's about 7, so that's getting up there. But dogs are awesome. I love dogs. So with you, man, and I love that you're an early adopter. And like I said, I bring you up in my AI origin story all the time as a result of that. Is it's like, yeah, I got introduced from a guest on my podcast, Chris Savage. And most people have heard of you or have heard of Wistia, so it's been really cool from that perspective. So, like with you, I guess, like, what are you experimenting with now, or like, what do you think is like the latest or something that you're excited about that you see kind of coming over the next 6 to 12 months?
I mean, so I'm constantly, we'll start with the LLMs. I mean, one of the things I've started doing that I've been experimenting with is like creating repeatable tasks with them. So doing things like, hey, I want you to go search for this thing every day. And if you find it, update me. Or like you could do this for something like getting tickets to something that hasn't been released yet, but also I'll do it for like a daily briefing. So it knows the types of questions I'm already asking for a lot of the work that I do. And then what I say is like every morning I want you to go out and search for things related to the stuff I'm working on. Anything that's new, bring it back to me with the perspective of why you think I'm going to care. And then I just iterate as I go. So like each day when I get something, I'll respond to it and say, this is good, this is bad, what have you. And That's been really interesting because it's just been this like constantly evolving thing that is doing quite a good job of sifting through all the news sources that I honestly wouldn't go through. There's like too much stuff. So that's been really cool. I'm playing a lot with the generative elements of that could go into a video. So playing a lot with the avatars. We launched AI dubbing in Wistia earlier this
Mhm.
year. So we already have the data based on the browsers of the people who are hitting your video on your website. Like, what do they have their browser set to for a language? And it turns out that it's the internet. Like for us, like Wistia, we really only market in English, but actually only 68% of people who click play on our front page video have their browser set to English. TED just did a recent study on this because they dubbed a bunch of their talks and saw tremendously better conversion rates, engagement rates when someone's watching their native language. Of course, this makes sense. But so that's something that we saw that we got excited about. Is like we can combine the data with the player with something really simple so you can dub. And then we're looking at what are all the other things that we can do where we can take things like avatars, we could take things like AI sound effects, AI music, AI color correction, all these things, and put them together to help you repurpose more easily, edit more easily, make new things. And so, yeah, there's a lot that we're experimenting with there. And what we're looking for is things that actually deliver. Like, that's the big thing. Is like, there's a lot of these things that today are toys and 6 months won't be. But we're trying to get that timing right of, hey, let's help you make something that you couldn't have made otherwise, or increase the production quality on something you might not have thought to do otherwise. So yeah, it's very fun.
That's exciting, man. So I love both of those. So it's a lot to unpack. So let's start with the first one. So are you using Pulse then in ChatGPT or with that, or do you have a task set
So I
up?
have Pulse also. So Pulse is like their version of this that basically gives you insights based on what you're searching for. I actually set up before Pulse and have like fine tuned my own news alert. So I look at both. The thing that's nice about Pulse is it might give you an update on something you weren't expecting. The thing that's nice about the news briefing that I do is that it is things that I actually expect. And so there's certain things I want to see every day, and that it pulls that all of that in.
Did you do that in like a N8N or something like that then, or how did you build that out?
Just in ChatGPT itself, you can say, "Give me a reminder."
Oh, the task. Okay,
Yeah,
I see what you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been using like funny thing is I've been using Pulse and I've been using like what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So because it's got like, hey, what else do you want me to cover? And I'm like, I want you to cover this every time. Something that I did pretty cool, and it's like it's a little finicky. And I was just talking. I was meeting with a leader over at Oracle earlier today, and I was telling him about it. But basically, what it is it's like I have it evaluate. I have ChatGPT evaluate my use every week, and then coach me on how to like three things every week I could use to up level
That's
my
cool.
use. Yeah, so it actually like it's kind of weird because like they made some updates and it started not acting as good, but it used to read all my chats and everything and do that. There's still some really good things it's come back with. It actually gave me like a prompt ending to add and increase like the output of everything that I do by 30%. So it avoids a lot of back and forth with it.
That's
And
cool.
I've tested it and it actually works really good, especially with
That's awesome.
so that's a little AI nerdery there for you, man. So let's go back in the video. There's a ton going on with video right now. It's kind of like, I think video next year is going to be like the image models this year, how they got like exponentially better. And it's already getting to that point. So like, and this is part of the precursor, and I can even share this with you all if you're watching. Just give me a second here, and I'll share the screen. This is one of the things that Chris brought up on LinkedIn, and it was just talking about how videos are becoming visible to LLMs and how to do that because AEO is like one of the most critical things, obviously, as we're looking at the future of how people make decisions. We're seeing conversion rates, I don't know, 6, 7x as much. Talk to us a little bit deeper about that, man, and like
Yeah.
what's the nuances of that, how it works, and how it's affecting like the future of, I would say, marketing, especially.
Yeah. So I think there's an assumption that if you have your videos online, that AI can see what the videos are about, what's in the videos, especially YouTube. I mean, I hear from a lot of people like, well, we need to put this on YouTube just to make sure that AI can see it. But of course, the funny thing is like YouTube blocks ChatGPT and a bunch of the other LLM search because, of course, they do because it's not their product. They also, a lot of the like ChatGPT and others use Common Crawl to crawl the whole web as their own version of like seeing what is on websites and what's happening. But Common Crawl, which is this like open source crawler, can't run JavaScript. So anything that's behind JavaScript, it can't see. So a video player needs JavaScript to run. So you could otherwise open up the player, and if it has a transcript, pull the transcript and basically understand what the video is about, which is helpful if you have a lot of information that's in video that is might not be on your site. And so what we've done is built an LLM friendly video embed. So you embed this on your site. It has every video that gets in a Wistia gets a transcript. So you have the transcript for the video. And then if it detects that it can't run the JavaScript, we show the transcript instead. And what that does is it means that when your site is being crawled and someone is looking for additional information that would be in all the videos that you have, it's now available and the LLM can see it. And so it basically makes the data that is in your videos obvious to the LLM.
That's good. I mean, obviously that's critical. So like, what are you seeing as the difference in results and I know this is brand new that you launched it, right? But I'm sure you've kind of experimented on yourself.
Well,
I
it's
would
pretty
imagine.
simple. So a lot of it's, and I encourage people to play with this themselves. Like go in there and ask about, if you take a YouTube link, for example, into ChatGPT and you ask about it, like, what's in this video? It'll give you an answer. The answer it's going to give you is going to be guessing based on the title and description. But also if it's embedded in other places and there's information on other sites, it can pull that information. What we're seeing here is that pages that don't have the LLM embed, you are not getting the benefit of the information in your video when someone is searching on those pages. And when you do have it, you are getting the benefit of the information. And so if anybody is like, if you're searching, the big question is when someone's searching for something, is the LLM using inherent knowledge or is it doing research in real time? Inherent knowledge is going to be based on when they train the model. And so because most of the models are going off of data that is not, hasn't been updated in the last few months, no, of course, no videos are showing up there. So the way that will work for you is if you use the LLM friendly embeds and people are searching for an answer now, and the answer is not in the inherent knowledge, which is often because it's like specific, like you're asking specific information about, let's say like, does Wistia have a specific feature? If that is showing up in your videos, now it will show up in the search when before it wouldn't have. So we've done a bunch of tests before and after. And what you get is like much more fine-grained, better data. And that matters when the LLM is like pulling together all of the insights to tell you like help you make a decision.
Okay. So how are you, here's the thing, because I know I don't know if this is a competitor or not, but so what do you do for public facing videos like on YouTube, or is it like you can't really, how do you use that or leverage with it?
Yeah. So you can't do anything on the YouTube side. So you'd have to embed those videos somewhere else.
Okay,
And
gotcha.
put more information on the page saying what the video is, basically.
Gotcha.
And the issue you run into is like the transcript is going to be the most information dense version of this. But if it's a very long video, then you have a very long transcript. So then that often doesn't make sense on the page itself visually. And so then you have you could go and build something similar to what we've built that's like detecting and switching these things for you in real time. But you're just going to need to be careful that it's, very compressed and very fast and all that kind of stuff. So that's all we're doing is we're doing something you could do otherwise. We're just doing it for you very easily and reliably.
Yeah, that makes sense, man. Well, I think I mean, there's a ton of videos increasing, so I think that makes a lot of sense. I guess like how has your business changed fundamentally, like back to 2006 to now, right? In terms of like how fast you have to ship products, like what's your approach? Because like some of the things that you told on the last episode, I remember folks were really impressed with just in terms of like evaluating leadership at different revenue levels and kind of how you approach that. So I'd love to hear how you look at it from like a product perspective now and go to market perspective as well.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is that we have to make faster decisions. So we are seeing some productivity increases, right, from using AI in how we build products. And we are seeing some productivity increases in how we market and sell. So we are going faster. And we all started going faster. We made a huge change in like late 2022. There was a cultural change actually internally at Wistia that really unleashed us shipping fast. So what that means is like we used to feel like we could be very patient and judicious about what exactly we're doing. And now there's a huge amount of new things coming out. And the question is actually, it's like an editing question, a positioning question, which is which of these things are we going to highlight? Which of these things are going to make more obvious or not to customers? It's actually overwhelming. We have a different problem than we used to have. We used to have a problem many years ago of like, man, I would hate waiting. And it would be like, oh, our one big launch is scheduled for September. And now it's like we launch hundreds of things a year. And so instead of hating to wait, it's like, actually, well, which of these things are most important to the right group and how do we tell them about it? And so the way it shows up is many more decisions, like day to day and week to week, of people saying, like, here's this new thing. What should we do with it? Or we think we're going to go really big with this new thing, or we think we're not going to go big with this new thing. We're going to focus in this way, or we have something new. It's working better than we expected. How much should we pivot the stuff we had planned? And so it's just in that sense, very, very different, where I think there was like a luxury of being able to go slow but make sure you get the decision right. And this is still true on really big decisions. Like, are we going to build a new product or something? We still have that same approach to it. But on the smaller level of new features being shipped and things, like, it's just a much faster pace.
Yeah, I mean everything's sped up. I mean, what Satya was talking about, how he thinks Moore's law is like 3x now, and that was at the beginning or mid last year, so it's probably like 5x now in terms of how fast technology doubles. I guess, is there challenges, like, since you're a legacy SaaS company, right? Since you've been around, I don't mean legacy in a negative way. I just mean since you've been around for a while, of like trying to integrate all this with the existing tech that you develop versus like if you were starting AI native from the ground up right now? Is that like challenging as a SaaS founder?
I mean, yes and no. I think like we are very fortunate, and I think this came up because of, to a degree, it came up because of this guess on pace. But we rebuilt a lot of how Wistia runs in the last few years. Like, in terms of like, if you go into the web app, like, if you haven't been in Wistia recently, you go in, it's going to look really different from how it used to look. And it's not just a skin on top of the app. It is literally, we've rebuilt most of the app. And what that has done is made it much easier for us to build in this AI functionality, because we're not building on brittle things that are very old. We're building on very, very new things with fresh code, with a fresh code base, and people who understand it. And that's not true exactly everywhere in the product, of course, but that's true in lots of places. But I think if you haven't been doing that, it's going to be harder. But the biggest thing is actually like I think it's the probabilistic nature of AI versus deterministic, where there's a lot of people who are used to writing deterministic solutions. So you do something that shows up exactly the same way every time. And what we're doing now is writing deterministic solutions and then putting in something probabilistic around a very discrete thing. And there's a lot of people who are just uncomfortable with that, because they're like, I don't know what the answer is going to be. What if the answer is really bad? What if someone prompts us in a really negative way or whatever? And they couldn't get themselves into trouble before. Will they get themselves into trouble now? And it's kind of like a protecting the user kind of vibe, which makes sense, because historically that was like trying to keep the product incredibly easy, incredibly smooth, like fail proof was something we were always thinking about. And I found it getting people comfortable with shipping those things that we're actually making a bet on trajectory often than where we are today, which is we need to ship this before it's perfect. So some people are going to use it and love it. Some people are going to use it and not like it because they're going to feel that it doesn't deliver. But we feel that the speed that it's getting better is fast enough that it makes sense, because we need to get in there and get the learning, so that 6 months from now or a year from now or 2 years from now, when it's always delivering, we are actually getting the lift and it is in the product. And I think that is, it's almost like the issue that I think a lot of legacy companies have is the code and how you're building it is one thing. It is actually like your tolerance for failure. So you could be completely AI native, but at your scale, and people won't have a high tolerance for failure. But a startup does. Like, a startup can make a thing and they can promise something and it only delivers 75% of the way, but that's enough for some people.
Right.
And the legacy companies are going to struggle with that in a different way, right? Like, you have to do the work to make it a beta. You have to do the work to make it clear it's a test. You have to create more guardrails around it so that people understand what it is that they're stepping in and doing. But also, you have the advantage of distribution. So you can
Yeah,
use your
it's true.
distribution to put more people towards the thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's good points, man. I mean, really, really good points on that. Like the yin and the yang of like a startup versus a legacy or a bigger company, right? What are you most bullish on for video for 26 and as it relates to business as a whole?
I think the big thing that I can see is that we've had a lot of magical technology come out that has put the power of video into way more people's hands. But still, most of the power is the different discrete pieces that you're still going to put into like a traditional editor, that you're still going to use the way you did your process before. So people who I see doing like, I see a lot of people playing, like I see a lot of people playing with Sora, for example, super fun. I have a lot of friends who do not make videos, who are in Sora because it is so fun and silly to like make fun of your friends and stuff. But what I think can come is basically taking a lot of these raw elements and combining them in such a way that someone who hasn't made video before, like a business user, can actually make videos that they're proud of, like edit them themselves and not feel overwhelmed. And I think we're going to see like a kind of explosion of that type of content that I'm really excited for, because I mean, it's kind of in a similar trajectory to what I've seen since we started Wistia, which was first DSLRs added video. That brought the price of video down and put video into more people's hands. And then the iPhone and Android added video, and that brought the price down of video and put it in more people's hands. Then we started to see our computer as a camera, and that changed the game. And this is the next one. And so, yeah, I'm just really excited for us to start to see things that actually deliver on that promise.
Yeah, I mean, like I've used Veo 3.1 too. It's good. I've used Sora, had early access to that. It's pretty fun. I think like I guess like here's what I'm wondering, and I'm starting to see changes to social media with this, but like where do you think the future of social is going as it relates to video as well as marketing? Because like I mean, it used to be like, hey, you need video because you can't fake it.
Yeah,
But as you can
right.
see with Sam Altman doing anything, I mean, some of the stuff I've seen on Sora and other, you pretty much fake anything right now and make it look real. So like, what's your take on that? And like, how do you approach it organizationally and for your clients?
Yeah, so I don't think anyone really understands what's going to happen yet. I have a bunch of guesses, but yes, that is right. And you said something in there that's very important, which is like for a long time, people saw video as like if it's in a video, it's real. Like it is very high trust because it's hard to make video. And I think as humans, we value things that are good that require a lot of hard work. Like that is a signal to us of importance. And so if you're using AI to make all your videos, and people can tell you're using AI to make your video, there's a lot of cases where before they valued hard work where they're not going to value it, right? Like they're going to look at, and Sora's again, perfect example. It's really fun and silly. There's a bunch of crap, and you don't look at it as like, oh, this is really interesting. This person had this idea. You look at it as like, this is just boring. Like if I don't like it, it just sucks. You don't care, right? Where in a different world, if you saw whatever, a squirrel driving a motorcycle around, you'd be like, how'd you get that squirrel to do that? And Mark Rober, putting nuts everywhere, making squirrels drive things. We would be like, this is so amazing. But now in the AI video world, it's like, well, that by itself is not that interesting. So I think that there's like what we can guess is going to happen on the entertainment side. And then I think there's like what we can guess is going to happen, I'll say on the business side, but what I mean is like where trust matters more in the video. On the entertainment side, I think the first phase we're going to go through is going to be like the phase we're in now, which is like shock and awe at what you can make. Like just truly, this is
Mm-hmm.
unbelievable. And that phase is going to continue because the models, some of them cross the uncanny valley sometimes, and they sometimes don't, but they're going to start and cross the uncanny valley all the time. And that is going to be, whoa, I can't believe how real this is. And it's kind of like, you'll get the weird feeling in your stomach. Like, I can't tell what's real. And all. That's going to be the first part. Then after we normalize to it, I think all you're going to care about is like, is it interesting? Is this a good story? And if it's a really good story, I don't think you will care that much that it was made with AI. And if it's a bad story, won't be good. And whatever you can do, whatever way you can tell the best story will win. And I'm talking explicitly about like entertainment, right? Like if it is entertaining content, story will ultimately win. And I think we can see that this happened actually with CGI in movies. So like pre CGI, action movie, car exploding, you knew somewhere someone exploded a car. Like you knew that the flames were real. You knew someone took, like, if there's a human in it, the car, they took a real risk, right? Like it's like a scary thing and added stakes. Then CGI came along. We saw all these movies pushing the boundaries of CGI. Jurassic Park, Avatar, they're the biggest movies ever. And we saw CGI in everything as the price came down. And pretty quickly, just having great CGI is not enough to go to the movie theater. What happened actually is like the great stories. If you had an amazing story with a bunch of CGI, people didn't care about the CGI, they cared about the great story. There was exceptions to this rule. Tom Cruise is the exception. So Mission Impossible, you know he does his own stunts.
Yeah.
And that is part of the appeal. And actually, those movies are better if you watch the behind the scenes footage first, because you understand the stakes of what he's doing in it. And I had this exact experience. Like, I think it's Mission Impossible 7 or whatever that just came out. And this one I saw without watching the behind the scenes footage. He's hanging off the bottom of a plane on fire. He's parachuting on fire. And I was like, this is fun and cool. And then I watched the behind the scenes after and I was like, oh my God, I forgot he really did those things. Whereas the previous Mission Impossible came out 2 years ago, I watched the behind the scenes first of him doing this like motorcycle jump off of a cliff that he actually.
Yeah. I remember that one.
And when I watched in the theater, I was like, this is the greatest movie I've ever seen. So I think the work matters. And in entertainment, that's how I think it's going to show up, is like, if you can show off that you did it for real and you can show off that there was real work into it and the story's good, that'll be good.
That's interesting. I love that perspective.
Yeah.
So who are your favorite storytellers then? Like, or who do you think, what kind of storylines? Cause I'll tell you something I did on Sora to get your take, and maybe this will spark your creativity, but like, I don't know how it came up. It was something like in an old reels or whatever. My buddy sent me on Instagram, the Real Men of Genius. I don't know if you remember the Real Men of Genius commercials from like the 90s. I think
so.
Yeah. So it was like commercials like that or other things, or there used to be like in Saturday Night Live, I think is still good. And I appreciate it, but they used to have the best commercials, right? Yeah. Like in that time frame. And so I had Sora start creating like Real Men of Genius themed, or like Saturday Night Live type commercials with things. Yeah. And some of them were pretty freaking good. So, but what do you see in terms of like storytelling themes, things like that are really resonating and hitting with people?
I mean, on the Sora front specifically, it is like funny memes of content that we have seen before, or putting people in funny situations and then taking it really far. And so I've seen things come up like out of things happening at work where we had an offsite, we were sitting outside and someone accidentally spilled an iced coffee and it went into the pool at the place where we were. And everyone thought this was so funny, trying to clean up the milk out of the pool. And so then there was like the video of Brendan and how much he loves milk in the pool. And then then the next version of that was like, and Brendan's my co-founder, was like Brendan with a giant glass of milk talking about how much he likes milk in the pool. And it just kept going more and more extremes, like the same character. And the character and the idea behind the character and where the character could go was incredibly funny and clever. It was like and clever so that was very entertaining. But I actually think that like, if you didn't know Brendan, I don't think you would think this was that funny. Like, I think if you saw one of these, you'd be like, what is this? It was most funny to people who actually know him. So it's a very small audience that it makes sense for. But I think stuff like that is going to do really well. I saw someone else was showing me videos that they put themselves into The Price is Right with Bob Barker and they're winning. And then they go like above and beyond over the top. And it's basically like stuff that we thought was funny when we were kids that we dreamed of doing. And now you're doing it, But yeah, I think it's going to be, I would bet we'll see some movies that come out from filmmakers who never would have had the budget or access before that are done totally with AI that we love. I'm going to say that's in the next like 4 years. We'll see something that takes off online and then gets distribution. And it's going to be because the story was amazing and the foresight was amazing. And if this person had had the resources of a full studio, they could have made a great movie, but they couldn't have done it before. And it's going to take unbelievable amounts of work to pull it off, but they'll be able to do it. I think we'll see that. Yeah, I think the question actually is like, what's going to happen in the places where the trust really matters, right? Like what's going to happen in the context where it's like, where it is factoring into you making a big financial decision. And I think there we're going to be looking for things that show us that if you used AI It was to enhance versus replace things. Like we're going to be looking for real stakes, real people, authenticity, high trust if you're making a big financial decision.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like the story about the milk too. I can see that, right? Like it's almost like the inside joke that is scaled to obnoxious
That's
levels, right?
exactly right. That's what a lot of this is, I feel like, is like the true inside joke taken very, very far.
So, all right. So let's move on. What do you think is going to be really big next year? Let's just say outside of video, right? We spent most of the time, but as it relates to AI or AI agents, what are you super bullish on, and what do you think is like still a while off?
I'm really bullish on AI solving, like actually, I'm talking about work here, but like actually solving really small problems really well. So there's been a lot of promise of these AI agents that are, going to run for 30 hours and build you an entirely new software product, whatever. And like, yes, I think those are cool demos, but mostly when you talk to anyone who's really building things, that's not happening yet. And even in a world where an AI agent could write for 30 hours before you reflect and look at the code, like, guess what? A human being's going to have to look at it. It's going to take a lot of time. It's going to change how we work. But I'm starting to see more examples of things which are very discrete, small examples that it can do really, really well. And so, like, we have the cursor bot in our Slack, and people will find little changes in the last the cursor bot, to make the change. And now I'm seeing a lot of those changes. Someone brought up an issue, and it's literally solved 30 minutes later. I think we're going to start to see that expand, but it's still going to be really small. It's going to be something that, like, would have taken an engineer a day to do before, and it was low on their priority list. We're going to start to see a lot more of that starting to occur. And I think we're going to see more of that in like every area. Like, I think we're going to see more things that are very small things, but when solved well, are actually really, really valuable. And I think that's the other part of it. Is like, I don't think you need to have yet an AI agent writing code for 30 hours for it to be valuable. I actually think if it can write it for 30 minutes and it's actually really good, and that is tremendously valuable by itself.
Yeah, I think that I agree with you on the quality part. Like that's the most critical piece because otherwise you're just like spamming code or spamming messaging or whatever, right? And it's just I've actually been really impressed with Cloud Code for non-coding use cases. Actually, for like go to market, like I just did a video on it last week where basically I had to research like the top 7 trending topics over the last 2-3 weeks and create 15 LinkedIn posts from it. And now granted, I had to give it the right context with like my brand voice, like, how I write LinkedIn content, all that. So it was tight, but the quality I got back at scale for that was really good. And I just set it up and ran it, right? Which was good.
Yeah.
Now, that's one piece of it. The other thing that I've started to think about, and I haven't shared this publicly, but I went back and forth with Cloud Code for about an hour to get the initial up. When I was done, I just said, all right, write me like a complete prompt of all the prompts I use so I can only put that one prompt in versus having to go kind of chainmail it. And I did that, tested it, and it worked really well.
That's amazing.
So like, yeah.
But I think you're doing what we have to do, which is like, we're still I mean, the numbers of people using these tools is unbelievably huge, but to me, it still feels very much like we're in the mode where you have to be actively pushing it and learning literally every day. That's how you get the most out of it.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. Like I'm constantly breaking it down. And what I've started to do is like, because it's happening so fast, like I'll do it. Like I have a brain dump doc and then I'll talk to, text to voice or whatever, talk to it.
Yeah.
And then I've started to have the LLM analyze that like after a month, like, hey, what are the trends you're seeing in my thought process? How could this relate to my business? So, all right. So
Yeah.
we're just,
The other thing you're not really asking this, I guess, like, because you're more talking about predictions, but the other thing that I have been doing a lot that I've talked to others about, and it seems to resonate, is purposely using the LLMs for divergent thinking. So,
mm-hmm.
like, you finish something and then say, tell me all the reasons why this isn't going to work.
I love
Or
that.
like
Yeah.
push in a direction that seems completely counterintuitive to me now and give me all the reasons why. And I find that it's like, there's these adages of like, you do the postmortem after an event goes through and talk about how it did, or the pre-mortem before, to try to like figure out what could go wrong. And I think on a
Mm-hmm.
lot of this like pre-mortem or divergent thinking that often would really distract if people aren't ready for it in a meeting when you're making a decision,
Hmm.
I found there to be like more clarity of thinking that can come from pulling in these other ideas up front.
I like that, man. I haven't really used it. I closest that I've used it for from that perspective is more like first principles thinking, like to kind of look at it at the core elements and then break it apart. But I like what you're saying is like, hey, identify like why this is flawed or why this could be wrong, or I think that's strong. I like that. All right, so we're just about up on time. Final question, because you're the one, like I said, turned me on to Dolly, which got me on the ChatGPT track early. What are your top three tools outside of Wistia, right? That you use that are like cutting edge that you're digging into that you're on the forefront of?
Top three tools outside of Wistia. I feel like I don't want to say ChatGPT because I just said it like a million times, but I'm gonna say it. I mean, I'm trying to be honest about what I really use the most. Okay. I also am trying to give you a Dali moment, but I don't think I'm going to be able to this time.
Do you want me to give some that I see working so you get a little chance to process it? Because I just put you on the spot.
Well, I'm thinking I mean, sure. You can give me some, and then I'll give you some back.
So I went down the original path of Cloud Code, but integrating Cloud Code with Obsidian so that the content looks actually readable. It's not in that IDE type environment, so it's very formatted properly, but also content ball. The other thing that I kind of stumbled across the other day, and I'm starting to go more and more, is Notion. The AI version within Notion is really freaking good.
Hmm.
And so like I'm seeing, and I know they built are looking to build agents over that is like a knowledge base area, because like how it's what it's able to do and transform and translate information is big. And then last but not least for me is I would say Cursor. I've just started to use that, but I see a big opportunity with non-coding agents, using coding agents for non-coding, kind of like with Cloud Code, but in that kind of like Cursor V2 environment they have where you just manage different agents. So those are kind of my big ones.
Yeah, those are good. Yeah, I think for me, in terms of things I haven't mentioned yet, I would say Cursor and Replit, and I'm using them to prove out ideas much more rapidly, and it change what a meeting is. And I think in the past, most meetings are actually around prioritizing whatever our scarcest resource is. And so, but when we do that, we talk about like this future potential that we haven't done. That's like basically what you're always talking about. It's like, what should be next? And one thing that I found is like me going in there with a more focused prototype or functional prototype to explain what I think something could be has made a pretty big difference in terms of how quickly we dig in on problems. And I could think of a bunch of examples where I have built something interactive to also on the go to market side, like building things on the website to say, hey, like I think there's an opportunity around here, and this is what I think it is, and this is why I think it's important. Because I keep seeing this trend of people have these great ideas that then when you try to actually productize them or you try to market them on the site, it breaks down because there's too much information or there's too many decisions to make or there's these like very, very complicated flows you have to create. And this, at least for me, has sped up a lot of that. And I see it across the business too. We have PMs who are building prototypes and checking in code, designers who are doing the same thing. We have a hackathon that starts tomorrow, and I'm so pumped because I think it's going to be the most number of people ever building things in a hackathon.
Oh, I love that, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what's your favorite thing you built in like Replit then, is like a prototype or even Cursor?
Oh man, I wish I could say some of these. So some of the ones I want to say are ones that are coming out, things that are coming out soon, and basically some pretty big changes we're making that came from that kernel. Unfortunately,
Oh,
I can't say them, but I'll give you one, which is I made a prototype showing, like I was talking about this dubbing feature before we have, and trying to show off the value of this to somebody in a more obvious way. Because for you to find it today, you could see on the website and go search through and find it. But if you're not doing that, you would go into the transcript panel next to the video and you'd click like localization and you'd say which localization, and it shows you the percentage on each video of people who are watching the video with a different language. And so I made a dashboard for the whole account that shows all of this, like all your videos, how much they're being viewed on different things, and kind of like the bird's eye view. If you want to fully localize it easily, this is how you do it. And I think that was like very fun. Actually showed that there's some like data things that we had to work on too that were a part of it. And yeah, I think it was like the way I was able to engage on that was very, very different than I would have previously. So that was what
It's
comes
awesome,
next.
man. All right. Well, this has been fun. It's been a blast getting to catch up with you again 3 years later and hear everything that's happened. Excited where you guys are going. Where can people find you? Where can they find out more about Wistia? And then we'll wrap things up.
Yeah, you can head to wistia.com, WISTIA. You can find me, Chris Savage, on LinkedIn. And as you hopefully mentioned earlier, my podcast is Talking to Live with Chris Savages, wherever you watch or listen to podcasts.
All right. Well, thanks for being on the show. Appreciate you, Chris. And we will see you all on the next episode.
Thanks, man. Good to see you.